it's Julie Davison and Susan LaCroix. Welcome to Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie. We're so excited you're joining us for today because we have a very special episode. We are celebrating, as we've talked about many times this year, we're celebrating our 20th Stampin' Up! Anniversary. We've both been demonstrators for 20 years. And back in August, Mom hit her $500,000 in career sales, and I just hit $1 million in career sales. I still can't believe it. Well, today's special guests are here to celebrate all of these amazing milestones and achievements with us. So without further ado, let me introduce Sarah, Douglas, and Shelly Gardner. Yay!
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be able to celebrate these milestones with you.
Very cool. I don't know how you guys did this exactly the same, but very cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. I signed up first in June and Mom signed up in October. So it was really close together. She was my first recruit, and neither of us had intentions of doing this like long term. But it just worked out, and it's just been so much fun to travel to Stampin' Up! Events together, and incentive trips, and I feel like we literally have traveled the world with Stampin' Up!
Yeah,
And
it's been wonderful.
Well, it's cool. The coordination I was talking about was the $500,000 and the million.
Oh,
that
was an accident.
That's incredible. Yeah.
That was, a happy accident.
A happy accident. Well, one of our favorite things about attending Stampin' Up! Events is watching you guys stamp together.
Oh my.
And so I don't know why it took us so long, but over the pandemic, like we were sort of inspired. Why aren't we doing this? And we lived 2 states apart. And so we started doing Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie back in June of 2021. And so we have so much fun every week stamping, and it reminds us so much of stamping with you guys. So we were just so honored that you agreed to be on our video with us, the original stamping mother-daughter pair.
The original, the OG.
The OGs, that's right. So we thought we'd start our video with a little share your moment, and we would love for you guys to share, and we'll do the same because so many people that are watching, I know many of you are demonstrators and have been for a long time, but there's also people who are watching who haven't been stamping very long, or maybe are brand new to stamping. And so I just thought it would be fun if we share kind of the beginnings of when we first started stamping and when we found Stampin' Up! So we would love for you guys to go first and share.
I'll go because obviously I'm the oldest. I'm the original.
The OG.
You know, I can tell the why we started Stampin' Up! Story, but I'd rather tell you my first, at least the first thing I remember stamping. I had just had Shanna, who's like,
you don't have to age yourself that way.
but I wanted to stamp her, you know, when you're born, birth announcements. And we had rainbow pads at the time, and I was so proud of myself. I had this little baby buggy. It was kind of this cutesy art, and I remember stamping. It was a raised, like a note card size, so it was a smaller size like we have now, only it had raised edges, and it was white. And I stamped the baby buggy on the outside in rainbow, in purple tones. And then on the inside, it had a stamp that had, you know, born when and how much she weighed. I thought I was the bomb because it was so cute, and it was nothing. Like, there were no layers there. I mean, literally one stamp on the front, one stamp on the inside, and then I filled out the information. And I need to find it. I think I have it still. I think I have it in her box of keepsakes. I need to find it because you would laugh. It's that simple. And I know I don't stamp that simple now.
Simple is good.
It is good. I was so proud of myself. And that's the first thing I remember stamping was that birth announcement. So it probably wasn't my first thing, but that was the thing I was the most proud of.
Things have changed so much. And even like in the last 20 years, I feel like our catalogs have changed so much. And there's just so many new tools and beautiful papers and
accessories. I mean, there wasn't a jewel on it. There wasn't a ribbon, like literally a rainbow stamped image in the front and the inside. And that was it. So what about you?
Oh, I'm thinking the moment that I want to share. Maybe I'll talk about when I had my first workshop, right? I'm a demonstrator also. And so I don't know if I could remember like the first time I stamped or that kind of thing. And so my first workshop was a friend of my husband's, his mom hosted this for me. And we had moved to a new place, and I thought to myself, okay, I just had Sydney, my oldest, and I was like, I need to meet new people. You know what I mean? Like that was going to be the way that I was going to make new friends. And so I pulled together this really simple, like black ink pad, all occasion stamp set, a palette of chalks. Do you remember those?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And those were the cards that I made. And a few people came, not a lot, but that was what gave me the confidence to do it again and to meet new friends and team members too. Like those were my friends. Like our Stampin' Up family, that's who I hung out with. Those were my friends that I made when we lived somewhere that we had never lived before. So I love Stampin' Up for the people, right? The friendships that you make. And so that's my share your moment, I guess.
Absolutely. Oh, so I have a side story because you were talking about that. I remember one time I had a friend come visit from college, and Thomas, who's my oldest, was like, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 at the time. And he was like, oh, are you just going to be stamping all weekend? And I said, no, Trisha doesn't stamp. And he was like, what? You have friends that don't stamp? It's so true. There's so many people in our lives that we've connected with and become friends with over the years is because of Stampin' Up. I love the way it's connected people. Well, you're going to go next and talk about when you first started stamping.
Well, I was in hospital administration. I was working on my master's degree. The kids were all little, and I had put together a basket as a baby gift, and it had a onesie in it that I stamped a duck on it. And then I made a little gift card that had that same duck on it, and I put it in there, and I filled it with other things. I don't remember what they were. And I think it was for a baby shower because everybody just, you made the onesie. I said, well, I stamped on it. and so people are like, would you make one for me? Would you so I started this little basket business, but then I couldn't do it all. So so then when Julie became a demonstrator and she called me up and she said, would you have a workshop for me? And I said, sure. So I had people over, and I said to her at the time, look, I'm not going to be doing this. So any free stuff you get to keep. She's like, okay. Well, I can't remember the card, and I wish I saved it. I really did. So I inked it up, put it on a cardstock, and went, holy cow, I love this. I mean, it was like that one, it was crooked. I think I had like outlines, how from but I loved it. And so I gave her my list and said, pick me out, about $100 worth of stuff. She said, Dad's going to kill me if you think everything you want. And I said, just $100. That'll get me started. And the box came and it got put into a closet. And, I was in nursing administration. I was working 50, 60 hours a week. So I didn't have a lot of time. Well, we had a death in the family. And so I pulled that box out and I started stamping again. And then Julie called me and said, hey, Mom, everything on your wish list is in the starter kit and it's on sale. So I turned to my husband and said, well, what do you think? Should I give this a go? And his response was, oh, you're getting better. So I signed up and I thought, oh, I'll do this for a couple months, build up my nice supply, and then, I'll just move on. And so here I am 20 years later.
A similar story, yes, that we hear all the time. Mm-hmm. I love it.
I always forget about that story. You're getting better. Well, I had a stamping collection around the time Mom was stamping, and I do remember the duck onesie and the basket business, but I had my own little stamp collection. I remember having my name, and I had some cows and some other fun things, but the one thing that always sticks out to me is my grandmother gave me this stamp, and it was flowers, and she gave me a little jar of gold embossing powder, and back then I didn't have like a heat tool or anything like that, and so I used to emboss over the toaster. We would put down the same piece of bread and hold the paper over the toaster to melt it. I'm surprised we didn't burn down the house, but we didn't.
I didn't know they were doing that. I didn't know.
Well, it was so much fun. And then we would color in the embossed flowers. Well, as I got older, I sort of, didn't craft as much until I was a newlywed. And that's when I found Stampin' Up. It was a coworker who invited me to a workshop. And then, as they say, the rest is history. I attended the workshop and I could only buy one little stamp set because we were in the middle of buying a house. So I got Happy Winter. It was a little stamp set of 4, a snowman, trees, snowflakes, and the words Happy Winter. And I didn't buy any ink or paper. And so by the time I used Happy Winter, it was the next winter. But between the winters, I did sign up to be a demonstrator just 6 months later. I just wanted a discount. I didn't have kids yet. I was still working. But I knew that I wanted to buy a lot. And so this was sort of the way that I was going to do. I was going to get a discount. And then I had a workshop, which snowballed into a workshop, which was a workshop. And then, and then 20 years later, here we are.
Yeah. $1 million.
Here we are.
Yes. Congrats on those milestones, and done so differently, right?
Yes. Oh, definitely. My business is more online these days, and Mom still, after all this time, is still doing classes and workshops and clubs in person.
Yeah, a little bit of online. I'm trying to grow that online, but it's taken a while. So
to each his own. I was going to say, you leverage your strengths, right? And you both
absolutely
do things your way. And I think that's great.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna do.
So Sunday Stamping, if you're new to watching, Sunday Stamping is our weekly video series where Mom and I share projects using the same suite. So Mom's going to share the suite that we're going to focus on today. So let's flip the camera over.
All right. So we're going to the annual catalog, which has just so much wonderful stuff. And we chose Awash in Beauty. Let me slide this over here. Okay. It's a beautiful suite. And I bought it as soon as the catalog came out, but I didn't really do anything with it until we decided to use it. So I was glad because this is kind of my thing anyway. So we have the True Beauty stamp set and the True Beauty bundle and some beautiful designer series paper and some embellishments. No, it's not there. So let me just dig right in here and show you the product itself. So here is the stamp. It is a cling red rubber stamp set. There's 11 stamps in the set. This way? All right. My producer, director here is having me move. Okay, so it's got some sentiments in here, but different flowers, different leaves. And the dies, I love this, because you can cut them all out. Right? You can stamp them, you can cut them, you can stamp or die cut from the designer series paper.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're going to show you some different samples when we're done as well. So that is the, there's one more die in here. And that's this beautiful, beautiful trellis. So you're going to see some samples with that as well. And then this gorgeous designer series paper. Now it comes 12 by 12, but just for ease of showing you, I cut it down to 6 by 6. So you can fussy cut if there's not, like this doesn't have a die, but you can fussy cut this. It isn't hard at all. And then we have just some all over flowers and berries. And I love the color palette here. So some vibrant, really beautiful images. I just love our design team. They are so good. This particularly, this sheet, these all can be die cut out. And if you don't have the dies, you can fussy cut them. And then, excuse me, this little guy, I think this is so sweet. And then this one, so if you can just imagine this as a 12 by 12, and then on the top part of it facing the other way is the same design. So you can get a lot of mileage out of these sheets too. Really quick and simple cards. The B side, as we like to call it, is also wonderful. There's just so many things you can do with the B side. Even if you don't want to use the stamps that came with it, you can use these with anything. I love this one.
I love that. I was just thinking about the colors. So the colors in this paper are Mary Merlot, Blushing Bride, Polished Pink, Calypso Coral, Balmy Blue, Granny Apple Green, and Mossy Meadow.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous.
Just a wonderful color palette. And then, just to kind of top it all off, we have these phenomenal, and I love these. As you can see, I've been using them. I have to order some more because this is it. These are iridescent pearls, basic jewels. And they shine. What didn't I say? Awash and Beauty?
No, I was just gonna say, I wanted you to point out the
Oh.
item number to get the whole suite.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, so yes, if you want everything in this bundle like I did, there is one number that you can order by and get the whole thing.
I love that they do that because you just gotta have it all.
You do. I did. You did. So there we go. So that is what we're using today, and I hope we can inspire you with some great projects. All right, next.
Sarah, are you ready to share with us?
Yes, I am. So I decided, make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I decided that, well, I'm a simple stamper. And so I decided that I was going to approach this from like a math perspective. And so I'm using note cards and envelopes. So I'll need a pack of those. And then I've got the designer series paper. I actually am just using the designer series paper in the stamp set. And then just a couple of ink pads. So you mentioned some of the things from the suite. So I'm going to use basic gray because I felt like black might be a little bit too harsh for this one. And so I've got basic gray for my sentiment. And then Blushing Bride, just if I choose to stamp the envelope or something, I have a couple different options for that. So here is my take. Now you'll see in the catalog, there is a card that looks kind of like this. So I cased the catalog a little bit, but I had to simplify it because I'm me. And so, so I'm going to show you how I did that. But if you have not tried note cards and envelopes, you have to. And I've just memorized the size. They're 5 by 3.5. And so I kind of do my math around that. So all you're going to need to remember is 5 by 3.5 and then just 2-inch strips. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to take, let me get there we go, my strips. So I just cut a bunch of, so I cut 5 inches and then I'm going to cut 2-inch strips. So here's a pairing. I'm going to show you that one in a minute actually. And then I've got the one that you just saw, right? This is my pairing for that card. And you're like, well, Sarah, how did you get these to go together? So I'm using that whole sheet where you've got like the top seam and the bottom seam that mirror each other. And I'm just going to use my paper trimmer and just cut this one that I want to be on both sides of my card just down about 1/2 inch. So it's still a 2-inch strip, but I'm going to cut at 1/2 inch. So that I can save on my paper. You don't have to do this. This is just me being stingy with my paper so I can get the most out of it. So I'm making the layout like this. So when I pull my note card out, and I can make a lot with this. I've just used some different color combinations. And then of course, our favorite glue. This is my favorite because you can kind of move it around.
It's forgiving.
It is forgiving. So once I've gotten the glue, I'm going to glue from left, the blue first, balmy first down the side so I can line it up. So it's going to be my whole card front. Now, if you have seen me stamp, I talk a lot about a 4-step card. And really what that is, that's just a card base, designer series paper, and a sentiment. And so this qualifies as my 4-step card. So I tend to go here first when I'm stamping and I'm starting to stamp. I just want it to be really simple and straightforward. And so this is, of course, the note card and envelope is my card base. And then I've got this beautiful designer series paper that is going to be the DSP part of that. And I'm just going to overlay it. So I've given myself plenty of space. You can see that it's not exact, and that's so that it doesn't matter. It's really forgiving where I put that designer series paper. And then I just used the back side of one of the sheets. It's this one. And so the one that you all love to die cut out, I actually don't die cut very often. And so I'm using the other side and I'm just stamping.
Side B.
I'm using side B.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
I love that. So I'm using side B, and I've just got a bunch of sentiments from the set that I've cut out so that I can decide. So sometimes I'll make these cards and I'll leave them in a little box, and then depending on what I need it for, I'll just grab a sentiment when I need it. and add it to my card. And so here's a trick if you didn't know, I like to flag my banners. And so I just cut down the center, you can see that okay. And then I'll just cut to where my scissors ended. And I'm not really worried about it being completely even. I think it's fun when it's not, but at least the center is even. So I want it to be a little bit more eclectic, like this one's a little bit wider on the bottom, and I'm totally good with it. So then I'll just use a couple of dimensionals for the back side.
Okay, so when I saw your card earlier today, I thought you had used a back, like you'd taken the whole designer series paper and then you put the other one on top. So that was kind of something fun for me to realize that it was that you'd stripped it, that you'd cut it smaller and made good use of your paper. Did not even go there.
Well, I just wanted to remember one measurement, and I just needed to remember 2 inches. So that's really all you need to remember is 2 inches, the size of your note card. Now, I did add some of the pearls, and you can choose to accent some of the flowers or just throw some on there for an accent. So I usually accessorize. So like I said, 4-step card-based designer series paper, your sentiment, and then some bling, whether it's ribbon or some pearls or something like that. And then I call it done, just like that. Oh, that's like way too symmetrical. Let's try that again. Okay, so then
triangle.
Yes, there we go. So the rule of thirds, I guess. So 3 or 5, right?
And 5's too many. Like I can.
Oh,
yep.
I totally think we can do that. But this now, my mom taught me. Julie, I don't know if you have your own mom-isms, like the things that your mom taught you.
I can't wait to hear what this mom-ism is.
Well, it's never a naked envelope.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
This is definitely something I learned from my mom. So that's where the blushing bride comes in. I just use the stamp set and then accented for my envelope. Now, when I'm in a hurry, actually, this isn't what I do. I save all of that to the 2-inch strips. So I mentioned the envelope is perfect for a 2-inch strip. So if you just take the 2-inch strip and it's the extra before you trim it down, then it's 2 inches this way, sorry. And then you just cut around it. So then I can have a really cute coordinating envelope, so my envelope isn't naked.
and it has designer series paper.
Well, no, this one has a DSP flap, and this one has the stamped front, because very rarely are you going to get both from me. So that other designer series paper that I showed you, I made a card with this one as well. Same thing, again, just cutting it a 1/2 inch, and then here's that one.
Oh, I love that.
So that one goes with this envelope.
Oh, so nice.
So really simple and straightforward. That's how I roll.
I like. And you use the embellishments.
I did. I like these.
I like your positioning on those because they're right in the flowers, and
yeah, it's kind of fun. So two different options, but same design, and you can mix and match the designer series paper however you want, which is awesome because they coordinate.
I love that. This paper is really easy to mix and match like that.
It really is.
Okay,
right,
so I'll flip it back over here. I love using the designer paper. And so I just have a couple bonus samples to share that I made where I just I fussy cut the designer paper and kind of used that as the embellishment, added some pearls. I'm obsessed with this die cut. It's from the Scallop Contour dies. And it's just like the perfect size. I also did this one with fussy cutting the designer paper and just adding a few other embellishments. So a little more stepped up because we got the die in the background. And then I also created this one with the picture this die and using some designer paper in the background. Well, I usually don't get very fussy. And so like when there's dies like this, that big lattice, like it sort of scares me, but I thought I needed to do something special today and get out of my comfort zone. So I used the adhesive sheets from Stampin' Up! To put on the back of my cardstock before I started die cutting. so that it's really easy then to apply the die cut to the card front because it already has sticky on it. I'm going to make a huge mess. We keep saying we need to save these little triangles for something, these diamonds, but yeah, that's too fussy for me. So it's really easy to peel this off. I'm not making it look easy. And now I'm trying to rush it.
Your time. Take your time.
It is like the little ends. Okay, well, there we go. That was a good peel.
Off camera.
I know,
right?
right? I wanted to show it all together too. So sometimes I found maybe I just needed to angle it a little bit. Oh, I've killed the end there. Okay, well, you're gonna get the picture. So you got the adhesive on the back of all of this, and then it goes onto the card front really easily, and you don't have to monkey around with like the fine tip glue. So you can center it there at the top and then bring it down. So that's how you get that sort of color on color background that you saw in this card. And so we're going to do the same background in Calypso Coral for the card I'm going to make today. And all these little pieces, let's not lose our time. We're just going to shove on the floor and clean up later.
She's going to clean up later.
I'm going to clean up later. I love that the dies in this set coordinate with both the stamps and the designer paper. So I'm going to do some simple stamping here. I'm using Calypso Coral. These are all colors from the designer paper. So saffron. Oh, I love the detail on these stamped images too. These are, I think, some of the distinctive stamps, and they just have that sort of different shading that makes it so beautiful to see all the details, especially on this stamp. Oh my God, can you see the center of that? I just love that. And then I'm going to do some leaves. So I'm using all of the big flowers from this set. And then the little leaves that are too. And on that one, I pushed a little too hard and I got a little halo here. But that is not a problem because we're going to line them all up with the dies and die cut them. Oh, I just dropped one. Die cut it with the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I was going to get that out and crank it for really quick. I love this. When you're ready to step up your crafting, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and dies is a really great way to bring your cards to the next level. I broke out new plates for
wow.
our no, right? So for the regular dies, you're using your platform number 1, the thin die adapter number 2, and then 2 cutting pads. They come in a pair. And when you first get your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, it includes all of the platforms and a new set of cutting pads. So you don't need to worry about buying the cutting pads separately. They are included in the package as well as a specialty plate. So you're all set to go to die cut and emboss and use all of our amazing.
Well, and you get hundreds and hundreds of cuts, and they don't. And your plates or your what do you call those?
Your plates.
Yeah, your plates don't look that beautiful, but they do their job.
Yes.
So sometimes the first time you do it, there'll be a big fat crack, and it always scares people. So if you're using an embossing machine for the first time, a die cutting machine, and you hear a big crack, don't panic. It's totally normal.
I remember when Shelley demonstrated the machine we were using for many, many years, and she warned us. I remember that because then I went out home and ordered one.
Yeah. And so like the lines on there is normal. So once you are die cutting, I'm reaching back to grab one. Like once you're die cutting a lot, you're gonna have plates that look well loved. And that also is totally normal. Okay, so we have our card base. I'm just going to kind of lay this out and then show you the finished card. So I have a little piece of the designer paper to put over on the right side. I didn't write the measurements down, but we'll put them in the video description. This is 2 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I have my favorite die cut. Again, I'm using that scallop contour die cut. And so I'm just going to arrange these on the card with regular adhesive. Oh, I was supposed to do 2 leaves. Well, I'll show you the finished one. And then I also added some die cut vellum. These detail die cuts are in the same die set as, I forget the name of this bundle.
Me too.
I don't have my ink pad anymore, but then the Just Because is going to go with the Mary Merlot. And so here is the finished card with a little bit of ribbon and some pearls right inside the center of the flower. You got to stamp on the inside. That's what my mama taught me.
Oh,
No, yeah.
So one more card I'm going to show you. This is actually unrelated, but this card is one that I made with another stamp set, and I pulled it out as inspiration. So I was sitting down with the Awash with Beauty Suite, and I just sort of felt like I wasn't sure where to start. So I always, just like you, Sarah, I always am casing the catalog and getting my ideas from there. Sometimes I pull out old cards that I've made. And so in this case, I pulled out this one with the Simply Succulents, and it had a detailed background that was similar to this one. And so that's kind of where I drew my inspiration. I used the same layout and just changed up the colors and the stamps.
Love that.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Shelly, I think it's your turn. Are you ready?
Okay, I am ready. Let me walk over and start with this piece of designer series paper. When I first got, I wasn't like Susan. I didn't order this the minute I saw it in the catalog, but when you invited us to participate today, of course, I ordered everything, and this was the first one that struck me, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'll bet that we can die cut almost all of those. And so I just started die cutting and die cutting and die cutting and came up with, you know, a pile of die cut imagery and fell in love. And I thought, I must make a card with all of mine. I must make a bouquet. So what I did is I started with the very same trellis that you did, Julie, and I just did the shimmery cardstock, shimmery white.
Pretty.
And then I just took and started to, and again, I'm with Sarah. My favorite form of adhesive is the multi, just because it gives you, it's a little bit more flexible. It gives you some wiggle. Ooh, and that was a lot. It gives you a little bit of room to move it around if you want. And I just started creating and didn't do, as you can see, it doesn't take a lot. Just started to create and build. Ooh, yes, that was a lot. Thankfully, it will dry clear. So I just started to create my bouquet, and this is what I ended up with, rather than you watching me go through and continue to build and build and build. And what I found that I loved about this, I wish I'd done vellum. I did not think about vellum, but I went ahead and did the same kind of a thing where I added the tone on tone. And at first I was a little nervous because this is all white background and this is more of an off-white, but I didn't mind because it's all neutrals, right?
It makes it pop, actually.
I think it makes it stand out. I loved being able to layer. And you'll notice on this designer series paper that you have the bright greens, the granny apple green, and then the mosquito. And so I had to choose between them because I didn't know that I really could do anything. You know, I felt like I had to keep it in keeping with the greens. But you notice all the colors almost are in there except for one. Oh, and I must say that I use this is the die from the pillow box, the pretty pillow box.
Oh, yes.
It fit really nicely. Just threw some ribbon there. And of course, I did have to add some speckling. So you don't have to have the speckling. Do I need to go up?
Yeah,
Thank you, Sarah. Because I can't see. The angle is right there.
Yep, you can see it.
Okay, so I did do some speckling because, well, I just felt like this is the thing. I did the speckling on the card after I did it on the envelope.
Ooh.
Because I felt like the envelope needed more than just the sentiment. So then it was like, well, I'll speckle it to add. And then I thought, well, I can't have a speckled envelope without a speckled card. So that's how that came to be. And then I thought to myself, and I didn't ask you guys if it was okay. So I'm just going to take the liberty of showing you another card.
Absolutely.
So I thought, okay, that's a lot of die cutting and, you know, making bouquets. And I thought I should do something a little simpler. So this is another one that's just one flower and one sentiment. And guess what? I don't stamp in the inside of my cards. Do you, Sarah?
I don't. I need to learn from
hardly
Susan.
ever. Unless I can't fit it on the outside, I hardly ever stamp on the, I just leave that for writing. So I just designed a series paper. And
Beautiful.
I think, I mean, it's okay because it's flat, right?
Yeah.
But that was the other color that I didn't use, and I wanted to make a card with that, with the blushing bride color. I love this. This is my favorite color of all time. Like if you go in my closet, I have more of that color. Well, other than black, I have more black than anything. But then the next color is blushing bride. But I love Calypso coral too. So there you go. And I won't show you my third card because that was against the rules. So
no, please show us. Please do.
Are you saying you want to see the third card?
I think you better show it.
Okay, so the third card was because I felt guilty for not stamping any of the imagery. Because I had used all I had stamped were the sentiments on the other two cards. So I thought, well, I need to make a card that shows some stamping on the actual imagery, not just the sentiments. So this is just using, and I'll just quickly show you how I did it. I'm using the balmy blue, which I love that Sarah used. I mean, it doesn't really matter. This imagery can be in any color and it's going to be beautiful, right? So I just stamped with that image with the balmy blue, and then I'm going to spritz it away from the camera with a little spritzing tool. And it's going to
away from your project.
Yeah, away from my project. And it's going to be a very light spritz. Although I did spritz it 3 times. I know it kind of sounds like I might have spritzed it a whole bunch. But you're going to get a kind of a muddy look, but it dries more like this. And you can see the watercolor effect.
Yeah.
I love that it's got a watercolor look.
Yeah.
Without watercoloring, without the hassle of the watercoloring. So I'm going to bring that card back in. Another thing I'm going to tease about, or confess, not tease. I'm going to confess. I didn't have any more note cards, white note cards.
You were
imagine
out?
that? I was out. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll have to use my craft. So, and I thought it turned out really nice. It kind of allowed a little bit of a silhouette with that other die that doesn't. The opposite, the die that I lost. I can't imagine.
Oh no.
I know.
It's somewhere. It's going to show up.
I'll find it someday. But so there you go. Did I do that in 10 minutes or less? I don't know.
I don't know, but Mom never follows the rules.
Timing. But Shelly, I would love for you to bring in your other card, and just, I know you didn't probably bring it, but can you just tell us how you normally do the splatter on your cards?
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you, I did not bring.
Here, I can help you out.
Oh, look, she's going to go to the stash around the corner. For those of you who've been at the Stampin' Up! Home office here in Riverton,
I'm going to just show like
we
this.
have. So there are a couple of different ways that you can splatter. So I will, in this case, I was going to say, I've used my fingernail before, but that's when I really care about, right? You can use the edge of your brush and do this. Do you see that?
What?
Oh, really?
The edge of your brush and your lid. Before that, though, I would use my finger, but then of course, then you have ink in your fingernail for like days. Another way that you can actually splatter and get bigger splatters is to take a, what do you call it?
Like a paintbrush?
Thank you. Well, a paintbrush, but what do we sell?
Watercolor. Water
like
painters.
the painter.
The painters. Yeah, the painters that come in different sizes.
Yes.
So that's my favorite technique, is to take that and take a painter and put it in the lid of the stamp pad case.
Mm-hmm.
And I will have little.
It's like your watercoloring.
Yeah, like your watercoloring. And I'll just pick up some and then I will tap it like this.
Okay.
And that's the way you get the bigger splatters, and you get fine plus the bigger. And I like the diversity. I know.
She splatters everything.
I
And she does not follow the rules, by the
no.
way.
Look, I just want you to know, these two are not splattered. I purposely didn't splatter them because I wanted to show that I could do a project without splattering.
I love it.
Wow.
Let me just give you permission, all of you out there that are like, wait, because you said I felt guilty that I didn't use my stamps. It's okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
It's okay.
Well, because my first love was a stamp, right?
And it still is your first love,
It is
right?
still my first love, but our designer series papers are so beautiful that I
yes.
kind of look at them first.
We don't
And then
discriminate. We do not
Yes.
discriminate here.
I love it
That's
all.
right.
I love it all.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, we've got one more project. We're gonna flip it back over to the desktop. We were talking about splattering
We
on your
were.
card.
I was like, should I splatter? I'm going to start with just showing you some samples, and I'll explain why in a minute. So again, I just thought when I saw that paper, a bouquet of roses.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Made a little tag, and then you're a true friend with a little bit of a strip of DSP on the inside. And there is a card or two. I don't think I have an inside finished yet. And then this was just a little bit of a fun fold. I just cut normally, scored it in half, and then scored it in half again so that I could just kind of fold it.
That is one of the easiest and most wow folds, don't you think?
It is.
Mhm.
Never gets old. Never gets
It
old.
is. Yep.
And I love that you can see that on the outside and the inside.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so cute.
And then this one is using that paper. This is not how I started in my head with making this card. But what I did is I took the 12 by 12 sheet that has the mirrored images, and I cut it down, and then I just kind of cut around the edges. So I've got this popped up on the card with dimensionals. So that gives it a little depth.
A lift. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. I was going to
thank
ask, does a project ever really go the way you think it's going to from start?
Never.
Mine never
What
did.
starts up in my head always turns out differently. And then I had some left over, so I just did a little fussy cutting and threw that on the inside.
Susan, I'm going to have to take your momism and do the inside of the cards more often because I hardly ever do the insides.
There you go. There you go. So that the one that was up in my head was doing a diagonal. So I just took one piece of the DSP and just cut it into triangles on the card, and then just made two different cards with them.
Beautiful. Love
And
that.
these insides are not done, I will confess, because I just did it this morning because it was in my head.
A last minute inspiration.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you my card, and I'm doing something a little bit differently. So thanks, babe. So I am starting with a piece of crumb cake, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And a piece of very vanilla, this is kind of weird, 4 7/8, thank you, Julie, by 3 3/4. Another piece, 5 1/4 by 4 inches that I ran through the embossing folder. And this one is the time-worn type. So I just wanted some texture, so I don't need that. Take this. And then some strips of the B side of the paper. I have a 5" by 3/4 inch and a 5 1/4 by 3/4 inch. And then for the inside, 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay. So I'm not going to make this whole card because it would probably take too long. I just want to kind of show you what I did. So I'm going to start with, I am missing, Julie, my strip.
Your strip.
My pink strip. There it is. Thank you. All right. So first I'm going to tear because I love to tear. It's one of my favorite little things to do because you don't need any extra little tools. But they're
They're
toys.
kind of like toys.
All right. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to also tear this. And the inside is going to be almost identical in terms of what I'm doing here. So I'm not going to do it again for the inside. All right. So I'm going to take my blending brush, which I love. Let me get in here. I love these. I should just get one for every color because they're awesome. All right. So I'm going to do some burnishing. And the way I use the blending brush, I mean, there's no right or wrong way. I get better control if I put my finger on the brush head. So I just kind of hold it this way. So we're going to pick up some ink and always start off your paper. And I just want to burnish around the edges. I love shabby chic, vintage, whatever you want to call it. I just love doing them. And they are a little more time consuming. They are a little more fussy, but I think the look is well worth it. I just have to be careful because I have customers who don't really care for vintage. So I have to get my thrills elsewhere. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing with this little strip that I tore. And I'm just going to, because I want the white to not be so bright on this. You know, for our cardstock, it doesn't really matter because the color goes all the way through, which I think is just a huge feature for our paper. Okay, so then I would just attach this here. Okay, which we'll do later. And I went ahead and die cut the tag, and I've got a finished piece, so I won't show you. What are you doing?
I was trying to look up the name of the tag set.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Taylor tags, I think.
Oh, Taylor tags. I think you're right.
Yeah, yeah. All right. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my stamp and my crumb cake, and I'm going to stamp on this ribbon, which is actually from
Abigail Rose.
Abigail Rose.
Yeah.
It's another one of my favorite ones. So you can stamp on this ribbon. So I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to work on this piece. And I'm using Blushing Bride. Normally I start with my biggest image when I do kind of a collage look, but I found that I wanted to, oh, thank you, Jay. This happens to me all the time. So I need my boss here to, all right. So I'm just going to stamp some of the Blushing Bride roses on here. And then I'm going to put my leaves on to kind of match. But I wanted to get rule of 3 on there. And now I'm going to come back in with my leaves. I don't know if I got enough ink on there.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I really liked how this turned out. So I'm going to just angle this way a little bit, I think. And I'm not sure if I'm going to, well, I'll try to get a leaf in there. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to add are just a few of these little fun little flowers. So I'm just going to kind of stick them where I can.
And we've seen that image in 3 different colors now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
in any color.
There you go. So that is how I stamp this. And what the card is going to look like, I'm just going to layer everything together on here. And as I said, the inside is also done. Thanks, Jay. So I just used, now this is another color. So I used the pink on that one. So it would go in here. I'm not going to bore you all with trying to put this together, but you're getting the hint, right? Or the idea. Put our little ribbon here, our stamped little tag there. And then here is the finished card.
Oh, I like that. Pretty.
With the elegant faceted gems instead of the pearls. And I just tied a little bow with some of our Essentials Baker's Twine pack. So this is like the vanilla one of that. I frayed this ribbon a little bit.
Did you also burnish the tag?
I did. I burnished everything on this card here. I burnished the inside along here too. I just kind of did the same thing, just added a few little subtle flowers to the inside.
So in fact, that's what I was just going to say is the whole card is subtle compared to the designer series paper. It's a totally different look.
Yeah, I love
it. Yeah. And that's why I did what I did. I mean, this, when I thought of this, I thought, okay, love the colors, but I wanted to do something different.
It's
So
beautiful.
there it is.
These colors really reminded me of you, Shelley, and I thought the only thing she needs to do is add a little splatter.
I really did. Okay.
Well, let's flip the camera around and we'll show up all our cards together.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that we made so many different cards with the same suite, the Awash with Beauty. I feel like whether you're using the stamps or the designer paper or the die cuts, like there's just so many ways to make beautiful cards with this suite. Well, and all our products.
Oh yeah.
And so many different ways to make it your own, right?
Yes.
That's what we saw as we all stamped, is we have the things that we love and the things that we enjoy and the techniques that we always fall back to as well.
Mhm.
And so I think that's good.
And there's
It's a
bound
good
to be
thing.
something there to inspire everybody who's watching, right?
Hopefully.
And
Hopefully.
if not,
I'm
then
sure.
then
I
awesome.
love your 4-step card,
Oh
Sarah.
my
I
gosh,
think
yeah.
that's so great when you're first starting out. And so then you can just build on that, right? It's the basic 4 steps, and then you add, add some ribbon, add some, add some designer paper, die cuts, step it up a little bit. So
Yeah, I'm
Or
working on a
not.
Christmas
Or
card
do
class
4
now.
steps the rest of your life.
Or not, yeah.
Well,
I'm working
here's
on
the
a
thing.
Christmas card class now, and I think that 4-step is going to be perfect because I can
Yeah.
do so many different ones using that same format. I've got some newer customers who are interested in learning, so I'm trying to think, okay, I have to just keep it simple,
Mhm.
just at least in the beginning with them. So
Well,
anyway,
you both talked about how you started stamping simply, right? Like we
Yes.
kind of all talked about that. And
Yes.
so I think it's good to remember that not you don't start just making all the things,
Yes.
And so
And I think sometimes we're busy enough that we need to remember to revert back to simple. We don't have
Oh,
to
absolutely.
keep building, right? We can go back to
Yes.
the I need 20 cards today.
Yeah.
How can I do that simply, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
something for
That's
everyone.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are so appreciative that you joined us today to celebrate with us. We've
thank
been
you for
looking
having
forward
us.
to this. Oh, anytime.
Yeah. Right.
Anytime you guys come and film with us. We'd absolutely love it.
We're honored to be able to celebrate your milestones, and that you're both celebrating together is pretty amazing. And so congratulations, both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. We I know that you are both going to be you were in Europe for on stage. So I'm just trying to think, when is the next time we're going to get to see you in person?
Wow.
We saw you in New Orleans. So
Yeah.
that was
And that
awesome.
was so
And we
much
were so
fun.
happy to be able to
Yeah.
be together
That
again,
was
right?
that was so great.
Together is
That
where we
was-
want to be.
Yeah.
But whenever it is, we'll look forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. So fingers crossed that it will be soon.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us and celebrating our milestones and stamping along with us and sharing your amazing project.
yes. Well, everybody, I
It's
hope
fun.
you've enjoyed Shelley and Sarah joining us today. It will not happen
In another 20 years.
Yeah. But until next Sunday Stamping with Susan and Julie, we hope you have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Sarah. Bye, Shelley.
Bye.